Hello and welcome to the Self Maid podcast, the official first episode. I've been putting this off for so long because I just never knew how to open it, but I figured at some point I just need to go straight in and get the first one out of the way so I can just keep doing them every week. So this episode is not going to be structured in any sort of way. In fact, I don't think any of them ever will be. I'm just going to kind of get on here and talk. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Jason. You may know me as Jason Cleans from TikTok or Instagram, where I post a lot of cleaning content. I own a cleaning business here in Western Australia. It's called Enhanced Cleaning. It's almost at $1 million a year in revenue. I've been going for 3 years now, and I'll sort of talk about the backstory in a moment. But I want to kind of set the premise for this podcast and tell you what it's going to be about, tell you all the topics I'm going to get into. The goal of this podcast is really just to talk about my experience as a cleaning business owner and to document everything that happens in my business. So it's sort of like an open diary as I progress through my business journey. I'll be talking a lot about my business strategies like marketing. I'll talk about my pitfalls or my wins. I'll get really deep into what's been working and what hasn't been working, and I'll try to make it as valuable as possible to you, especially if you're someone who owns a business, which I'm guessing everyone who's going to be listening to this podcast probably owns a cleaning business. I really want to be as engaging as possible with this podcast. So if you've got questions whenever, just send them through and I'll try to answer as many as possible. It can be about cleaning. It can just be about the cleaning itself, like how to clean certain things. It can be about how to hire staff. It can be about how to get customers. I'm going to cover every topic in this podcast, and I'll try to make each topic a separate episode. So I'll tell you a bit about my come up in the cleaning industry. This was back in 2020 during COVID. So this was March 2020. I was looking for jobs all around my city. For some reason, no one wanted to hire me. I couldn't even get an interview. I think I maybe got 2 interviews that I just bombed because I was so bad in them. But at a certain point, I just kind of said to myself, I'm never going to make any money working for someone, especially because I'm someone who has no skills and qualifications. So I figured the only way I was ever going to make money was if I get into business. And I'm thinking to myself, what business can I start with no money and no skills? I kind of settled on 3 things. It was the house cleaning, lawn mowing, or car detailing. And I'm like, well, I don't really know anything about cars or how to detail them because that seems a lot more specialized. So that kind of turned me off. Also, there isn't really much recurring revenue in car detailing. Certainly not as much as house cleaning. So that was another reason why I kind of veered away from that. Then it was between lawn mowing and house cleaning. And lawn mowing was a really simple pass for me because I just figured, well, I don't have the startup capital to sort of launch that business. You know, you need thousands of dollars for the mowers and all the equipment. Plus, I didn't like how it's sort of a seasonal business. I don't want to be working outside in the rain, and I don't want to have the seasons dictate my customer acquisition and all that stuff. So in the end, I just settled on house cleaning because it was 1, cheap, 2, it had great recurring revenue model. So we got weekly and fortnightly cleans. They pay you indefinitely, and you've always got a revenue projection of how much you're going to make that month and that year based on how many customers you have. And it was also very low barrier of entry in terms of knowledge. Like I didn't need to know much about cleaning in order to start a cleaning business. I just went on YouTube and searched up a couple of videos. I learned how to do this stuff. I cleaned my house for a couple of weeks before I got a bit more confidence. And yeah, I watched a lot of Angela Brown's videos, which I realized didn't really apply to Australian cleaning because even the terminology they use was just completely different to what we say. Like they say baseboards, we say skirting boards. So that kind of caused some issues in my marketing early on when I was calling things that people just don't really resonate with at all. So yeah, March 2020, I started my cleaning business. And then I thought in my own sort of naive mind that I was a really good marketer and I was going to be amazing at this. Like I thought I was going to crush it from day one because I've always been really interested in like e-commerce and digital marketing. And I was like, no one else knows what I know in the cleaning space. So I'm just going to go in there head first and just shake this tree up, you know? And then it was just like a slap in the face. Like I couldn't get a customer for months. It was about 3 months before I got my first paying customer. But let me tell you, when I finally got there, I was so motivated to keep going. I was so happy to get that first customer. And even that 3-month period where I wasn't getting any work, I was still having a lot of fun learning from all of my mistakes and all of the ads that didn't work and making little tweaks here and there. But in the build up to getting that first customer, basically all I was doing was putting out flyers in people's letterboxes. So I was out every day in the summer heat, which if you don't know much about Australian summers, it gets very hot, especially when you're beating the pavement in some shoes. I felt like my feet were burning as I was going through these streets. And I was doing about 200 to 400 houses a day. It was taking me anywhere between 4 and 8 hours of just running around different neighborhoods, putting my flyers in mailboxes and attaching them to doors and doing hangers and all sorts of stuff. And it didn't really get me much traction. And I realized that when you have ads and they're not working, it's going to be one of three things. It's going to be the message. It's going to be the media, which is like how you're delivering the message. So that's Facebook, Google. It could be YouTube, TV ads, newspaper, or in this case, flyers. And if it's not the message or the media, it's the market. So are you showing this to the wrong people, or are you showing the message to the wrong people? In my case, it was the message. The messaging was just off. I was writing really long ads that were too difficult to read and understand, and it was doing me a lot more harm than good. So went back to the drawing board, made much simpler ads, and after the first couple of months of trial and error, I made a really good, short, concise ad that said what it needed to say, got it to the right people, and I started getting some customers from doing these flyers. So my first customer paid me about $90 for about 3 hours of cleaning. So I was just working on $30 an hour back then, which was pretty standard. I think it may even still be the standard for a lot of sole operators today, which is unfortunate because they're obviously underselling themselves. But in 2020, as an 18-year-old, that was pretty good money to me. And I just reinvested that money into more ads. I started experimenting with Facebook ads. I ran a competition, which I credit as being the thing that single-handedly launched my business in the beginning. And a lot of people have asked me about this competition that I ran because I've talked about it on TikTok a bit. But basically all it was, I created a funnel. This was inside a software called ClickFunnels. It was basically like a landing page where people go in, they submit their details, they answer a couple of cleaning related questions like, when was the last time you had your house cleaned? Are you interested in getting a house cleaner? Have you had a cleaner before? And then they're basically pre-qualifying themselves as people who want cleaning or people who are interested in cleaning, which is who I want as my customers. And then once they filled all that out, they get prompted with a thing that says, if you refer 3 friends, you can get a 300% better chance at winning, which just means 3 more entries. And that way I created like a bit of organic virality. So I had, I think I had around 500 entries on my first competition, which was amazing. And I generated about 15 to 20 paying customers from that. So in total, I think that ad or that competition cost me about maybe $250. And that $250 just came from me having to do a month worth of free cleaning. And in my opinion, it was a raging success. And I've actually replicated that competition for other people in their businesses, and it's yielded same sort of results. So yeah, it was just a 1 month of free cleaning competition. A lot of people entered it. And then the way I converted these entries into paying customers was I just got on the phone with them, or I sent them an email saying, hey, you entered this competition to win some free cleaning. Would you maybe like to get a quote for some ongoing cleaning work for your house? And a lot of these people just didn't respond to it or said, no, we can't afford it or something like that. But a lot of people actually did book quotes with me, and I was able to get, like I said, 15 to 20 paying customers, which was worth almost $100,000 a year. So if you think about that in terms of ROI, spending $250, not even really $250, just $250 worth of my time in exchange for almost $100,000 a year worth of revenue. That's a very good deal. I think any advertising agency would gawk at those numbers. Okay, so competitions are a very great way to quickly boost business, especially from a standing start. And that's what I did in my business. It's what I've done for other people in their businesses. And it's what I do whenever I go into a new location or I just need a boost of customers. So yeah, that's how I launched my business. That's how I kind of got going in the beginning. That's how I got my first customers. And then obviously everything else ensued with like hiring staff, scaling, creating systems, all that stuff. But it's been a very fun journey, and it's just a very rewarding experience owning a business. And if you're someone who owns a business now, you probably know what that feels like. And if you're someone who's sort of on the fence, interested in starting a business, but you haven't yet, my advice would be just to go for it. There is really nothing to lose in a cleaning business. It's such a low barrier of entry. It's so cheap. And if you fail, you lose nothing but your time. So I say this to everyone, especially if you're young. If you're young, you have no excuse but to just go for it. Because back then, at 18 years old, if I fail, I lose nothing. I don't have a family to feed. I don't have bills to pay. I know a lot of people who are listening to this probably do have families and bills to pay, but that doesn't mean anything. That shouldn't deter you from trying to start. I'm just saying that depending on your situation, you should try to take advantage of your circumstances as much as possible. If you're young, you just got to go head first into business and fail a lot, because failing is what helps you learn the most. That's how I learned a lot in the beginning. It's how I got to where I am now. So yeah, just go for it. And if you do own a business now, awesome. I hope this podcast will help you grow and scale your business. I'm going to be talking about a lot of topics. I consider myself to be very tech savvy and good with digital marketing and creating systems and all that stuff. So if you're sort of struggling with that side of your business, then this podcast may be a very good listen for you. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to say for this opening episode. I wanted to keep it sort of short and sweet. I think we're about 11 minutes in. I'm hoping that all the future podcasts will be kind of short and concise like this one, maybe 15 to 20 minutes long. But I'm probably just going to end this up here, and I'll go back to the drawing board and figure out where I want to take this next and what the next episode is going to be like. And so thanks for listening to this. Hopefully when I play this back, it doesn't sound like as much of a mess as I think it's going to be, because I've literally just got on my PC and recorded a video, and I'm like hoping that it's going to sound somewhat okay as an opener. So yeah, that wraps up the first episode of the Self Maid podcast. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me at Jason Cleans on almost everything, TikTok, Instagram. You can find Self Maid on YouTube. You can find us on pretty much any platform if you're not already listening to us on something like Spotify or Apple Music, or I don't even know where this podcast is going to get published, but just search for Self Maid and Jason Cleans and you'll find me. And any questions that come through on my DM or in my comments, I'll try to answer them on this podcast. So send through any questions that you have about your business or about starting a business, and I'll cover them. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day or evening, depending on where you are and when you're listening to this. See you in the next episode.